It's Voodoo 51292's Top 10 Games of 2011. My personal picks for the best 10 games of the year.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to my countdown of the top 10 games of 2011. And as I've mentioned before, it certainly was a year for sequels and threequels and sometimes just even more continuation of a franchise. Sometimes the fourth or fifth game in a series was released this year. And one of such sequel was the last game in our countdown, coming in at number 8, Infamous 2. But as we look forward to number 7, we actually get a game that was a brand new IP release in 2011, one of a few that were actually released that year. And it was certainly an interesting attempt. It was a lot of fun to play, and it makes number 7 on our countdown. So, ladies and gentlemen, the number 7 game of 2011.
The number 7 game of 2011, L.A. Noire. L.A. Noire was a brand new IP introduced in the year 2011 as a collaboration between the game developers Rockstar Games, who is very popular and well known for their best-selling franchises such as the Grand Theft Auto series of games, as well as the Red Dead series of games, and game developers Team Bondi, who are a game development studio based out of Sydney, Australia. And these two game studios set out on a mission to recreate one of the most historic time periods in all of American history, which would be the mid-1940s in one of America's most historic cities, Los Angeles, California. And in this time period, it's basically right after World War II. All the soldiers are returning home, and they are trying to integrate themselves back into normal American life. Times are good, the world is at peace for the moment, and everything seems to be happy, and the world is going fine. But unfortunately, in Los Angeles, there's still crime, and it is running rampant. And in this game, you follow a man by the name of Cole Phelps, who is himself an ex-army man from the United States military who has returned home from the war. And to integrate himself back into American life, he decides to be an officer for the Los Angeles Police Department. And in the game, you follow basically his journey through the ranks of the LAPD, starting off from a very basic police officer, rising through the ranks, working at different desks, solving different cases, until basically he is, well, at least he's attempting to achieve the highest rank that you can in the Los Angeles Police Department and work on the most high-profile cases. But the plot of the game takes a lot of interesting turns, and you find out a lot of different things, not only about Cole Phelps, but a lot of the people that he deals with on a day-to-day basis, and a lot of the people he knows from his days back in the military. And the gameplay of L.A. Noire is basically centered on one central idea, and that is solving cases. And you will solve cases across 4 different desks. You have the traffic desk, the homicide cases, the advice cases, which are basically drugs and those kind of cases, and the arson desk. And you will solve a variety of cases from all 4 of these desks, and basically the gameplay and the formula is pretty much set up the same way. You will get a hint, obviously, about a crime scene, and you will need to go to that crime scene, investigate, find clues, and from there, basically, it will give you leads. You can go interrogate other witnesses and eventually try to solve the crime. And interrogation is a big part of the game, and that's where the revolutionary technology of face capture came from Team Bondi, where they actually used this face capture technology with real actors to very, very precisely simulate the faces of someone who you might be interrogating for a crime. And based on their facial features, you may think that they are lying or telling the truth, and from there you have to conduct your investigation accordingly. And overall, I would have to say that L.A. Noire presents one of the best atmospheres that I've ever played in any video game ever. I mean, 1940s Los Angeles is recreated in a beautiful fashion. The music is amazing. It's spot on with the period, and I love that kind of music. And just the whole atmosphere of the game is one of the best I've ever played. And the gameplay, to a certain extent, is a ton of fun as well. It's kind of different from what we've seen. It's not the average, everyday run-of-the-mill gameplay. It's certainly something unique and out of the box, and I really enjoyed that coming from the collaboration of these two game studios. So, since L.A. Noire was a lot of fun, it was a very lengthy game. It was about 20 hours long, and one of the best environments I've ever seen in a video game. How come L.A. Noire isn't ranked higher on my list? Well, to put it short and sweet, basically the gameplay gets extremely repetitive after a while. After solving case after case after case, you eventually get tired of the same old gameplay, and considering that the game really isn't a true open world game like many Rockstar games are, it really doesn't lend itself to a huge variety of gameplay, and you get a little tired of doing the same thing for 20 hours basically. Also, I found that one of the mechanics, the big mechanics of investigation, doesn't always work properly all the time. Sometimes it will be very difficult to tell if someone's lying or telling the truth, and what evidence to pin to if you think they're lying, and it can be very confusing, and by the end of the game it's almost like a guessing game because it can get very convoluted. Also, the plot doesn't quite wrap up in the way I'd hope it would. By the end of the game, it kind of feels like a patchy quilt that's never quite woven together in quite the right way. There's a lot of pieces, but they never really wrap up, and you don't feel like you've really reached any kind of closure at the end of the game. But overall, L.A. Noire, I enjoyed it quite a bit. It was certainly new and interesting, and I hope that if they continue the IP, that they do make some changes, because I'll be very interested in playing it. So, number 7 for 2011, L.A. Noire.